don't think most men want to be doing backbreaking labor either. Hopefully we get to a point where we can automate beyond these jobs, but yeah.
But they're more physically built.
That's actually objectively incorrect.
They're more physically built for those jobs.
Well, it's not just a matter of more physically built for the jobs. Men have preferences also to work with their hands.
Yeah.
Oh, so he wants to go underground.
I mean, there's physiological, not just...
Men much more often have, they have preferences towards physical labor and working with their hands.
Maybe, because I wouldn't just say working with their hands, because you can do a lot of things. You can create art with your hands. You can...
That ain't working with your hands.
I play some guitar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of...
Get down with a face mask when you're welding in a food. That's working with your hands.
You're now putting that's not so much working with your hands. You're talking about safety.
Anything a man is doing that's working with their hands is going to be a safety hazard. Anything.
I think men are more willing to tolerate high-risk jobs. Right, coal mining.
Well, it's not tolerate. They're capable of doing it.
And capable.
And
fine,
women don't have the same physicality that men have.
Correct.
And if the guy dies, the girl can still go give birth, but...
Now, Aaron, this is usually where the argument from Outlier comes in, where you say some women can work on the oil rig.
Yeah, they can, but generally women are not choosing to do that.
To answer your question, Jen, why you wouldn't bring kids into work if they disrupt the work environment, if they create a vulnerability, like they might get sick. So there's a lot of reasons why little children should not be around a work environment.
I'm not saying 24/7, but I'm saying what I'm saying is we don't need to go back to the agrarian age to make more accommodations for family-friendly policies.
I agree with you on that. I do think that this more, as like society is becoming more secular, I think that's something that has kind of been lost, but would be a positive thing to reintroduce, would be more communitarian values. And I do think it takes a village to raise a kid. And, if workplaces want to be more accommodating to young families,
but it's not,
to be able to help assist them with childcare, et cetera, providing them support for childcare, or, some offices I know have like childcare centers where their employees are able to bring their children while they're working. I think these sorts of things are positive changes.
Doesn't take a village to raise a kid.
Takes a mother and a father.
Kids are generally raised by parents and extended family, and that's always been the case. And I can tell you why it's always been the case. I can prove it to you. Do you agree with me that once upon a time there were way less human beings on the world and they were spread out much more?
Yes.
And so on these plots of land that they were usually cross-generational, right?
Yes.
That was not the village. That was the extended family who was taking care of their
Andrew,
kids.
When I say it takes a village to raise a kid, did you believe that I was saying it literally takes a village, or what sentiment did you think I was expressing?
Due to the fact that you're a communist, yes.
Okay, well,
I literally think that that's what you mean, because you're a communist.
I think
you're a collectivist by nature.
That's a rational inference, but to clarify that, I was not really using it in the most literal sense of the word. I was just saying that, support where necessary beyond just the mother and father, I think is largely positive, and I don't think that's something to be discouraged.
Do you think childcare is equal to...
But I don't think you need an entire community of people to literally raise a children, because as you're saying, we have plenty of historical examples where one or two people is more than enough to suffice to raise a child.
Yep.
And do you think childcare is of equal value to an auntie or a godmother or a grandparent?
In what sense? How do you mean?
Of taking care of a child.
Like somebody else's child? Do I think it's like as personally valuable to them?
You have a child. Would you rather put that child in daycare, or would you rather have them taken care of by an auntie? Are they equal? Are they of equal value and worth? An auntie, a godmother, a grandmother.
Is it better for Consuela down the street to be taking care of your kid, or you?
Or your own family? I think, she asked is it better for your own family as opposed to like nannies, et cetera? I'd say, yeah, I would agree with that. But I think so long as children are being supervised and watched by adults that are capable of providing for them, that's adequate enough. But if we're asking about like what the ideal is, then I think, raised primarily by their own family is good.
There's a point made earlier I wanted to kind of poke a hole in, see what you guys think, that both parents have to work. That was kind of a claim. It was like 100%. We've agreed. This is the situation now. This is the need.
I didn't agree with that.
Then you kind of disagreed with it. You said you could have 6 kids and live at home and stitch together. You didn't say this, but I'm thinking stitch together clothing for the kids.
Hang on. What actually happened there was a sequence of internal critiques. I had her position. She gave an internal critique to her position. And then I gave an internal critique based on her grounding foundational position, that it largely requires 2 incomes. Meaning that if that's the case, than women who are working. This is not due to a feminist ideal. This is due to forced labor.
So should we,
Capitalist
from your
coercion.
view? From your view. So if that's the case, then we can take off the table that women working right now has anything at all to do with them being feminists.
Wait.
Yeah,
that's
with
this
them
is where
being
we,
feminist.
That's where we can get. Oh, with them being feminist, sure, whatever. In some instances, I guess.
Not in some instances. You can't say that they're feminist because they're working. That would be a contradiction to your view that it's necessary that they're working. So the thing is like, again, that whole worldview, I think, is built on sand, but it is your view that almost all women under your communist, and you're using a Marxist lens for analysis, I'm guessing, right?
Sure.
Okay, so under your Marxist lens, right now what's going on is that the proletariat is being exploited by the evil bourgeoisie and forcing these poor women who would rather stay at home with their little kids suckling at the teat into the workforce, where they must slave away in order to, help their capitalist overlords so they can bring the paycheck home when they'd much rather be at home?
No. I'm not saying that absent any economic coercion that you wouldn't see women opting to not have kids or still participate and do labor, et cetera, throughout their day. It would just depend on that individual person at that point.
You think?
Well, they're doing labor
regardless.
regardless.
I think you would be able to see people being able to actually like live true to their values absent this like massive economic coercive factor.
So we can't say it's
doing it.
defensible that because a woman's working, it's contrary to her values of being an anti-feminist. That just doesn't make any sense under that analysis.
But as I said, I think that there is a tension there that exists when you're going so far as to maximize your professional outcomes as opposed to doing the minimum that is necessary to be able to provide for yourself.
That doesn't make any sense under that analysis either. Why would you not try to maximize your earning outcomes if it's required that you earn money in order to give your kids a better life in this particular environment?
Because
of course you're going to maximize
there's more to
those.
life than money. Just because I think it's rational for people, women included, to try to maximize their professional achievements. If you really truly believe that a big part of your life ought to be centered around domesticity, then I think that there would come a point where you would deprioritize taking every single professional step, promotion, et cetera, to maximize those earnings and say, if the entire point of working and the entire point of earning money is to be able to enable, a domestic life that makes my family happy.
Yeah, but
I don't need to go so far as to become like the press secretary for the United States.
Yeah, but that's just feels and vibes. You're just like, I feel like now it's too much.
But you're also getting into
where do we get to the actual threshold here? How many promotions can she take before now she's a feminist? Do you just have to feel it and vibe it out, or what?
Isn't this a continuum fallacy?
Well, it's not a continuum fallacy. If it's the case that your position is you become a feminist at X point, when is that point?
I don't even disagree with you that a lot of it does come down to what you're saying is vibes, but I would say kind of subjective or arbitrary lines. But just because something is arbitrary doesn't mean that we couldn't introduce some sort of like subjective rubric to try to see.
Great. What's the subjective rubric? I want to hear it.
Well, it's a diminishing return on work. Like if I need income, it doesn't mean I need to maximize all the way because there's exhaustion that comes in. So you have to, there's like there's resistance that picks up the more you do.
Can we just look at the practical aspect? Because you're picking on Caroline Levitt, right? You're saying she's a terrible example.
You brought her up.
I did, but you said
That's a good point. You did bring her up.
That's fine, but you said she's a terrible example. I will say she's not a terrible example. That woman had a career before she got married and had children. That was the That was her trajectory. Would you rather her go just work at a restaurant now or do something that she's not good at?
I think Caroline Levitt is fine making the professional choices that she did.
This is the trajectory she's on. Right? Whether the way I see it is God's given her talents. She is using the talents and treasures God has given her to the best of her ability to provide for her family. There is no reason she should start a new career because, if she can manage, she also was obviously healthy enough to get pregnant. When you talk to a lot of women in the workforce, and if we want to go to the fertility thing, they will tell people, women who want to get pregnant, I'll get pregnant in a minute if I quit my job. It's the stress of that workplace environment, trying to act like a man in the workplace environment, that doesn't allow them to be feminine. Somehow she's kept her femininity. She's still getting pregnant. Her health is still there to allow her to have children. And she happens to be on this career trajectory. Let's come back in 3 years and see what decisions she makes after this job is finished. Again, her job is temporary. And you look at someone like Susie Wiles, this is kind of like late stage careers. She's had her children. They're out of the house. So this is good for her now. I truly believe, women can work. It's just they can have it all, but not all at the same time. Right. And so Megyn Kelly talks about this, her career kind of skyrocketed after her children were a little older. So I just think that women can do different things at different times. Different jobs are more conducive to different periods of women's life. You can't get away from the biological constraints that women are under.
So I want to ask you to clarify what you meant by like women shouldn't try to act like a man in the workplace. What do you mean by that?
I think it depends, again, on the job. If the time and dedication and stress it takes to become a good lawyer is a lot more demanding, right? So if a woman wants to be a lawyer, that's going to take a bigger toll on her physical health than, say, if she wants to, be an artist or have something that's a little softer. But the fact of the matter is law, medical fields, they're kind of dog eat dog if they're based on skills, if they're based on skill set, if you're going by
medical fields. But you just said that when you were at you said a hospital, you were recently visiting your mother, that when you were interacting with the female healthcare professionals, that you actually found them to be more suitable to those roles.
I didn't say more suitable. I said,
what did you say? I don't mean to.
They had a better bedside manner. So that is one of those roles.
Were they
I
physicians
also don't judge
or nurses,
women.
or what roles were they in?
Both. But all of the nurses were women.
Interesting.
Right.
But you did have a female physician that you felt had exceptional bedside standard, and you did trust with your mom's care, right?
Yeah. I'm not saying she's not able to. I also don't judge her for whatever choices she's made. I don't know her family life. Again, so this is where, like, I think the debate comes of what is good for women, but they've made their own choices. But I don't think it's at odds with feminism.
Andrew saying that like he feels that too much of my internal critiques or whatever rely on sort of cutoff lines that like vibes and arbitrary red lines that I'm drawing. What you're outlining really does sound very vibes based, which is that you're fine with women, taking certain professional roles or whatever. And every time I ask you for specificity, you're kind of like, well, it's really going to depend on the individual we don't know their life story. We don't know
the medical
this,
field
and it
is
just
different.
seems like you're incapable of kind of making more.
Look, that's a fair critique. That's a fair critique.
I get it.
It just seems like you're incapable of making kind of broad prescriptive claims that don't lead to a bunch of examples that you will say, well, that's an exception, that worked in that case, and that's an exception, that works in that case. But then just how many more examples would you need to what I need to introduce to you before you're like, maybe these standards that I've outlined just really don't hold up to scrutiny. And it's a lot more complicated than just saying women ought to be doing this, but not up to that point, because now it's just coming down to like your vibes versus my vibes.
No. I think it's complicated, but I do think, again, if that woman chose not to have, I don't know anything about her, just like you don't know anything about Caroline Levitt.
I don't know her personally. I can only look at what she does and go from there and try to make, draw inferences off of her behavior.
Right, but I think that's dangerous to just draw inferences.
Why is it dangerous?
That's how we do everything.
I was going to say, we can't make observations about what people do and then make judgments from there. What's dangerous about that?
You can make a judgment, but I think
is it dangerous? Why is it dangerous?
Well, I mean, it can be. Like, for instance, I have a rolling chair at my house, and I usually make the inference that if I sit back a certain way, it's not going to fall over, and sometimes it does, and that can be dangerous. So, yeah, I mean, inferences can be dangerous, but I think generally that's how we reason things out, is through logical inference. So the critique she's making is fair, right? My criticism to her was, look, you can't be using vibes. I was attacking the foundation more than anything. That was the end where I was moving into. You can't just use your vibes as an arbitrary metric. But her criticism to you is also equally fair under that metric. It's like, well, when do we get to the specificity? So to move this kind of debate along here.
Well, let me kind of answer that. I think it might have to do with low dose cortisol in the workplace. If a woman goes into a job that stresses her out, it's going to cause fertility issues. But that's kind of up to the woman. Like, depending, some jobs are like, is she getting stressed out as a nurse, or does she love her job as a nurse?
That still sounds vibey, though.
It is vibey because the different girl's going to have a different experience in the job. Some jobs, a woman is, no matter what, go in the military, you go to the front line,
Yes.
you're going to have cortisol.
Yeah, but a subjective experience that's largely based off of self-reporting and vibes.
Yeah,
At
totally.
what point you decide to invite like medical intervention?
No,
or to
she's
say, like,
right. I
this
mean,
is too
that's
stressful.
still
It's vibes.
that's still vibey, right? And so,
But it's not. He points out something a little more tangible is cortisol levels and how those things affect. I mean, again, there are a wide range of women. I don't think women have to be all one thing. I don't think all women have to be mothers. I don't think.
I agree.
Yeah,
Feminists agree with you. Yeah.
that's fine. But I do think there's a better model for society to thrive.
yeah, but the patriarchy agrees with her too.